Okay, guys, so I feel like it is now time. It is 2023, and I'm not using my single collection the way I used to. So I'm gonna go ahead and declutter it. There's so many singles here. I actually don't even have them all in frame. I have about four other palettes that are just in my desk area that permanently have a little spot there. And my goal is to get them in the two huge palettes that I have. I really don't use my singles the way I used to. And what I want to do is get them all one palette full of single mattes and one palette full of single shimmers. So this is really going to be a huge experiment for me. But I have been avoiding this part of my collection for some years now, thinking that maybe I'll get back into singles. I just haven't, and there's no reason for me to keep a lot of these palettes. I could give them to somebody else and they can get some more use out of them. So that is my goal of today. I'm going to go palette by palette, and I'm going to go ahead and start with the big palettes. That way I can kind of clear those out, and then I will go with these because these are not even a tenth of the size of how big my palettes go. So let me clear this off, show you guys one of my big palettes, and then you can kind of get perspective on what my real kind of challenge is for this video. Okay, so this is one of my big palettes. It's an older Sydney Grace palette because you can see it says Feather of the Body. You could see that line of dust. It has been some time since I've truly used these, so they just need to be decluttered, and I really need to figure out what I really want to keep and what I don't want to keep. This, as you can see, is just a color scheme of purples, and really for this video, it's going to be kind of just a, sped up video just for aesthetic reasons, but I'm gonna go through and swatch every last single shadow that I have. I want to kind of figure out which ones I really want to keep, which ones I really don't, and really just narrow it down. The biggest thing is that these ones with the bigger pans, those are going to be least likely kept. I do actually have three of these big palettes, so I think I might keep one palette, this particular one, for the big pan, and then I have two big Give Me Glow palettes, so those are going to be my smaller pans. So that's probably how I'm going to do it, but it's really going to be a challenge. So let me just stop talking and we're just going to get into it. Okay, I don't know what happened, but basically my camera battery died, and that's the battery that I've been charging overnight for many nights. Anyways, out of all of the shades that you guys saw in this palette, these are all the ones that I'm going to keep. I swatched them and they were all unique or interesting and cute. These over here are all the ones that I'm going to declutter, and it's for a variety of reasons. Some, the brands, I just don't like the formula. Others, the brands are no longer about. Some, they're damaged, like this one, as beautiful as it is. It's just going to annoy me, and these tend to continue to crumble, and they can mess with your other shadows. And then lastly, sometimes I just don't want them. They're not cute enough. So this is what I'm going to keep. I don't really know how I'm going to do this. I think I might just have some huge piles just chilling everywhere on this desk until I can kind of really figure out how I want to organize, because so far I've pretty much decluttered all the really big circular pans, and those were the ones that I thought was going to go in this palette. So I'm just going to scoot this over, and yeah, I'm just going to keep this big section over here in this corner, and I'm one magnetic palette clean. I figured let's work on some of the smaller ones because these hopefully will be a tinge bit easier. So these are a bunch of like gold shades. At one point I had kind of really narrowed down and kind of color coordinated my shadows, and so as you can see I have a whole lot of like goldy shades. Do I need them all? Probably not. So yeah, I'm just gonna go back to swatching and just figuring out which shades I'm actually gonna get some use out of. Which shades I'm actually going to get use out of from what my preferences are right now, and those that I'm not, I'm just going to trash, and it will be okay. Second Magnetic Palette Clear. Okay, third palette empty. And I just wanted to point out some of these I actually recognize by how much product is in them and how they're just look. These are actually Glaminatrix shadows from when they began. They began in singles and they never had the name on the back. So that's how I know these are Glaminatrix. I love the formula, but I just don't need them. They also really don't have those in their collection anymore. So no need for me to keep them. And yeah. Really nice shadows, but I don't need them anymore. Okay, keeping it going with however long I got left on this current battery for palette number 4. Palette number 5 done. In doing this, I've pretty much gotten rid of any shadow automatically that does not have a name in the back, because that generally means that I depotted it. But this is so beautiful that I'm gonna put this to the side. Unless I can't find something to dupe it that actually has a name on the back, I'm gonna be ending up keeping this. Okay, next palette. Palette number 6 done. This is my Clionadh Cosmetics stained glass collection. I have it in its own little house. I don't plan to get rid of any of these, so I'm just going to shuffle these to the next one. 7th palette done. Eighth palette cleared. And my desk is starting to get pretty cluttered at this point, so I'm going to move all of the shadows that I actually want to keep into one of the big palettes that I cleared, and then I'll just have more room. I also have a little section over here for maybe, so I will move those to a palette really quickly, and then we can keep working. Okay, clean slate. Let's work on the next one, which has one shade. Oh goodness. Okay, palette number 9 complete. Palette number 10 complete. Palette number 11 complete. For these next couple of palettes, these are really special shades, so I know I like all of these shades. This might be the one that I may not like. Oh no, that's a beautiful multi-chrome as well. So I'm gonna keep all of those. That's why you don't see me necessarily swatching them. Okay, between palettes 12 and 13, I only decluttered one kind of more typical blue purple multi-chrome. It doesn't have a name on the back, so I don't know who to kind of credit for that, and it's fine. I have multiple other multi-chromes, so now I'm up to 13 palettes clean. Palette number 14 cleaned. And due to this mess, I'm gonna just take a momentary break and I'm gonna clean up my desk. I'm just gonna chuck all of these. Honestly, I don't think it's worth it to try to save them for somebody else. It's just time for them to go. And then I will continue on, and I have a lot more still left to go. Okay, back to it. My hand is pretty layered on with makeup, so I'm going to take a new wipe, just really clean that off. And I'm going to dry it, and then we're going to do that again, because I feel like I wouldn't have kept 3 shades that none of them showed up. Or maybe I would. think this is palette 14 done. This is actually a double-sided Z palette, so this may be a bit more taxing, but let's see what we can do. So I'm pretty sure 13 and now 14 are clean. And what I'm gonna do is just clear off my desk, and I have another double-sided Z palette coming up. Okay, actually this is not a double-sided Z palette, but let's still go ahead and test out the shades to see what I like and what I don't. Palette 15 cleaned out. Palette number, I think 17 cleaned out. Alrighty, we got last one in this stack. I think I have maybe 2 more stacks left. Palette number, I think 18, now cleaned out. Okay, second to last stack, let's get to it. And we definitely have quite a few singles that I've saved. Okay, so these are the massive palettes that I was trying to aim to get all of my kind of normal shadows in, and as you can see, they're full as well. So I had to take a break. I now have nourishment. I will just continue to swatch as I've done with all of the other palettes, and I will keep whatever shadows in here that I want to keep, and then we'll go to the last palette. And then I think what I'm gonna do is go ahead and organize while I'm still on camera. I think it would be nice to already have this section really set and good to go, and we'll see kind of what I have left. I think I have a lot more shadows than I honestly was expecting. I thought I was going to be a little bit more ruthless, but maybe once I see all the shadows together, the ones that have very, very small changes and differences, I may go ahead and get rid of. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, so my battery died, but I just went ahead and finished the last few in the other palette. This is my last palette. It's full of blues, and I'm just gonna do my swatches per usual. So before we get into the organization section, these are some shadows that I kept for one reason or another. A lot of these inglots I was just keeping because of the name. I don't particularly love this formula, so I'm just going to stop kind of forcing myself to keep something I'm not enjoying, and I'm just gonna chuck all of these. I just am not a huge fan of the inglot formulation personally. This one is beautiful, so I'm gonna find a place. I want to keep the black, but I just don't like that it's a big black, so we'll keep it. And then I think these two are two that don't have names, but they're so pretty. I'm just gonna go ahead and chuck them though. I'm sure I can find something that's close to them in an actual palette that I kept the palette together. Beautiful shades. I don't want to keep anything that does not have the name, knowingly. Okay, and actually, you know what? I don't really particularly like Sugar Pills formula. I'm just gonna chuck this, and this will be the one. This is from Love Lux Beauty. We're gonna chuck it too. It's unnecessary. Okay, so out of all of those palettes, I have all of my shadows right now in a grand total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 right now, but these are spread out. Like my Cleonids are in there by themselves, and the last two palettes are completely, well, mostly empty. So I am just going to kind of put all the shadows on the desk. I'm going to try to get as best of a view as I can with my camera, and then I'm just going to color coordinate them and try to get them as condensed as possible into the two biggest palettes. That was my goal before, and I would love to kind of achieve that goal. Okay, really quickly, I'm actually going to go ahead and get rid of all of these. These are just weird size pans. I can deal with these bigger circles, but these are just annoying. I mean, it would just be annoying to hold them in their own separate Z palette. I have similar shades, if not duplicates, in brands that have circle pans. So that's going to go. Just looked up and my camera was no longer recording, but I did exactly what I said I was going to do. I placed all of the shadows here on my desk. I did go ahead and start to separate some of them. So all of the multi-chromes that are super obvious are in this palette. So this will just be my multi-chrome palette. I'm perfectly fine with having a whole separate palette for those. And who knows, after I kind of begin to break these down, I may be able to actually put them in one of these other palettes. As for my Sydney Grace palette, this is where I'm gonna put any and all kind of big panned shadows. These bigger circles are going to go into here. I will say some of these may actually get chucked because they're either super similar to each other or they could be vaguely similar to what's in the smaller pans. I do prefer, of course, those smaller pans, but you know, one thing at a time. So let me just go ahead and get all of these in the palette. I'm not going to have a rhyme or reason. I'll probably fix that off camera and then come back just to show you guys what this particular palette is looking like. But I think with you guys, the main palette I really want to work on are the smaller pan ones. Okay, so right now this is what this palette's looking like. Like I said, I think I'm gonna reorganize it just to look a little bit cleaner, more organized, but for right now, that's what it looks like. I'm just gonna begin by getting these into their color families. They're pretty much in random sections, so that's what I'm gonna do first, and then we can kind of see from there if there are any duplicates that just don't need to be here, and I will work on removing those. Okay, so originally what I was gonna do is divide this palette or these bigger palettes by, mattes and shimmers, but I think I'm gonna try to kind of follow a more or less a color story, just going from light to dark and kind of going through my neutrals up top, and then I will go through the colors. So it's gonna take me some time to definitely get this right, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but I do kind of want to have a nice little gradient going, and I think it will work out in the end. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna work on now. And this is the point where if I see anything that looks pretty much like duplicates, like all of these are hair apart, then I will just declutter whatever it is that I don't want from them. Okay, once again, I looked up and my camera stopped recording. There are some like weird marks on some of the tops of my shades just because I was using them, moving them with my fingertips. But this is what I'm gonna leave the first palette at. I really like the variety. I like how I can see all of my neutrals, and then we get into some greens. These are some more like neutral greens, at least for me. I do have a couple of greens over here that are getting more into the teal category, so I'm gonna have them be the start of my next palette and then blend into the blues and the purples. But yeah, I love how I got the few couple of reds that I kept and some more orangey tones. I just really like how this palette came out. So yeah, anyways, let's work on the second one. Like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and start off with these tealy greens. I'm pretty sure this is a multi-chrome, so I'm gonna put this to the side and add that to the multi-chrome palette. Okay, and we're gonna start again light, and then we're gonna build up and kind of build out in the different ways that I want to. It seems I left another kind of goldy shade behind, so I'm gonna put that to the side and I'll get to that at a point. But let me get all these blues on my palette so I can see what they're looking like. Okay, so after what feels like 10 hours worth of work, I was able to condense my palettes from this, because I don't remember how many palettes I had previously, to 4. I'm so happy with the quantity that I have, but not only just that, the quality of shades that I kept. These are all shades that I feel like would be special enough to actually pull from this collection, and that's what I kind of lost sight of when I was originally collecting these shadows. I was just collecting them to collect them because they were cute, but I wasn't collecting them with the mindset that, yeah, they're nice, but I'm not going to predominantly be using these to create my looks. I'm going to predominantly be using palettes, with these just being accents, or even using these to kind of create fun palettes. Anyways, I don't want this to be that long of an outro. I just wanted to say I'm very happy about that. I know my hands and my nails look atrocious, but it's all good. I will be fixing them very, very soon. So let me just show you guys what the palettes finally look like. This is my multi-chrome palette with all of my Cleona cosmetics and then variety of other indie brands that come in circle pans. It does kind of hurt my eyes just a tinge to see the two different pan sizes, but at the end of the day, I like that I can just go into this particular palette and just get all of my multi-chromes and just have access to them. It's just really, really nice. So this is that palette. Then I have my big shadow eyeshadows. I completely forgot to put these in a more aesthetically pleasing order. Of course I did. Well, it's fine. It's okay. But these are all single shadows that are just in bigger pans. Quite a few of these are actually melt stacks that I depotted, and others are just a variety of different brands. I will probably eventually whittle this collection down to none, but I do like all of these shades. These are all really good shades, so I will keep these at least for this upcoming year. Then we have my two big palettes, which house all of my smaller or more traditionally sized single eyeshadows. So this is the second palette that unfortunately my camera cut off again. It has pretty much the teals to the blues to the purples, and then some like darker smokier kind of colors down here. I'm really happy with the gradient here. I'm really happy with the selection. I don't think that I have any kind of duplicating shades, and I'm very, very happy about that. And then this is the last palette, the one that has predominantly neutrals and some grungy greens with a splash of some reds. I'm very, very happy with this palette. This is honestly the favorite out of all of the palettes outside of course, the multi-chrome. So that is the end of this video. If you want like a swatch party with all of the ones that I kept with the names and all of that jazz, so that you guys can see what I still have in my collection, please just let me know. I could definitely fit that in for December, but I really just, it was heavy on my heart to actually declutter these now, and I'm so happy. I feel so much more relief at the fact that I have what I'm actually going to use and not just continuing to hoard shadows that I know I'm not going to use. And I know it's wasteful that I threw them away, but I spent my money on them so I can do what I want with them, you know? So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.